Hi, everybody. Welcome to Module 8. We're more than halfway through. So Module 8, we're kind of taking everything everything we've done in the first 7 weeks, and we're turning it into an educational product. So you're not going to be doing a ton of exploration this week. This is going to be a knuckling down and doing some really, well, dull work. Okay, it's not dull. It's interesting. It allows you to look at this in a very education forward content. Those of you who have been in the classroom, enjoy the other 6 hours that you're going to have free this week because you have done this before. Those of you who aren't in education or, are coming from a different field and currently in education, how do I talk about lesson plans? You're probably not going to do them that often past your student teaching. But it's good to see the structure. It's good to remember that you need to have all these components. And I do have a couple of colleagues who still do they have a little template and they do a formal lesson plan. It's definitely, rare because you don't need this kind of structure once you get up and running as a teacher, but it really helps set into place all the components that you need when you're teaching with students. And then we're adding the component of a completely unrealistic requirement of 10 tech tools. So I say it in the content page too. You're never going to be told, okay, use these 3 tools. I don't care what you teach. So we're doing it a little bit backwards. But for our purposes, it sort of brings in all the different pieces. So what you're going to do is read the content page, look at your blog posts from the previous few weeks. That'll give you an idea, help you remember what you really liked, what you saw before. Then you're going to look at the state standards, at the AASL standards. I put the Common Core standards in there, even though nobody's complaining about that anymore. And then you're going to build a unit plan or 2, depending on how you want to do it, that incorporates 10 of the tools or apps that we looked at in the first 7 weeks. So I would say that you're going to have 3 to 5 individual lessons. So, and then you're going to upload it to the grading tool and talk about it in your blog and in the discussion. So the way that it's going to be structured, I would love it if this is stuff that you can use. So if, say you're in an elementary library where you have a fixed schedule and you need to do a unit on something with your 4th graders, put together what you would like to do, and then this is hopefully something that you can just unpack in your library classroom. If you're with the high school, much of our, if not all of our teaching is co-teaching, so you're going to want to invent a colleague, or if you have a colleague, or if you're currently, a history teacher, you can be your own colleague, and you're going to co-teach. And if you do that, make sure that you delineate who's doing what, like what is the classroom teacher doing, what is the librarian doing, how's that coming together. You can use any of the standards that you want. I'd love it if you would look at the AASL standards if you are not familiar with them, because there's legislation in place that is going to make it, hopefully, so that the AASL standards need to be folded into the standards, which that would be great because that's like, wait, who can help us with the American Association of School Librarians in implementing this? And so hopefully that's going to boost the profession a little bit in the eyes of DESE and different districts. All right, so let's just roll through here. Oh, my Zoom stuff's in the way. Okay, so these are the AASL standards, and my page numbers aren't coming up, but this is just the overview. Okay, I thought this was the full book. This is actually quite palatable. And it just looks at, the beliefs behind it, looking at the think, create, share, grow. So this is going to be very digestible, maybe 10 pages. So definitely take a look at that. And then here's the Common Core standards, which are, I don't even know if people still use them, but here we are. Okay, here are the curriculum frameworks. I think this is everything. So feel free to take a deep dive, do career tech. I tend towards history and social science just because I think that's the easiest one for us to engage with. English, some people have a lot of success with English. My English department are all like little on an island people, and I made the mistake of teaching them how to do a lot of stuff when I first came in, and now they don't need me anymore. Math, if you can do math, you're working on a next level. But there is some, certainly some co-teaching we can do, bringing sort of information literacy into the math classroom. And science and tech is a pretty good, also health. Is health in here? Do they have health standards? Maybe they're in the science and technology. It's been a while since I've taken a tour in the standards. Perhaps this is a wake-up call for me. And then I did highlight the digital literacy and computer science standards because those are the ones that that if you're just doing library lessons, a lot of that they say, oh, teach them computers. And so this is a good one for that. So I already talked about elementary. You can also split this if you want to do two different lessons. If you find that, especially, if you're working with little ones whose attention span might not be the same, or if you, realistically think no teacher's going to invite me in for 10 classes, like I can do two different things. It's your call. This is a perfect world scenario. So however you want to make it work. I also threw this in because why not add 74 more digital learning tools to the app? But these ones deal with formative assessment, which is a really nice, sort of specific look. And for those of you who aren't in education, formative and summative assessment, in my school, we actually are required to have 80% formative, 20% summative. So the formative are the ones that they're doing as they're forming their knowledge, so the assignments that they're doing. My class does a lot of journaling when we're doing, because I teach a creative writing class in addition. When we're doing, first drafts, those are all formative. And then summative is the summation of what they have learned. And so formative assessments are really good. It's how they're getting their knowledge. All right. And then finally, this is the format that I would like you to use for your lesson plan. It's our lesson plan template, and it's just got a few things that, it adds cooperation model in there. All of these are the standard things that you would find. You want to look at how this aligns with the AASL content frameworks, and you don't have to get too in the weeds. Just which section, are we at here? Are we creating? Are we growing? Are we thinking? Are we sharing? Okay, and then so your topics, the standards that you're using, how you're working together, what the goals are, objectives. Pre-assessment, pre-test, differentiated instruction. I don't know what technology. Oh, I think it's just the blocking. If you don't have differentiated instruction for kids who have different needs, for EL students, it's not ESL anymore. It's EL. And it can be really simple, and it's often the same thing every time, especially if you're teaching kids that and you know what they need. But you want to make sure that we all remember the adaptive and accessibility. I can't remember. Anyway, A and A. You want to make sure you have something there. And then here's the technology piece, list the technology programs. That's where you're going to have your 10 different things. Now, this is a lesson plan. So for each lesson, you're going to do one of these. We'll talk about that in a second. I'm holding this up so I remember. This is the structure of the lesson. Then, what are you going to know? And then reflection. I don't expect you to do reflection because you're not teaching this. But in place of that, I want you to create for each lesson an example of what student work would look like. So your student work, if you're reworking a lesson that you've used in the classroom before and you have some student work, that's fine. Just make a note of it. And you need to have rubrics for these lessons. I would, one rubric per lesson is fine if you've got one big assessment piece, and you don't have to create the rubrics yourself unless you want to. A lot of schools have rubrics that are set for different types of assignments, for different departments. So you're welcome to use other rubrics or find rubrics that work for you. Just make sure you're citing whatever you're not getting yourself. I'm sure that there's a way to put this lesson plan into AI and say, I want to do a lesson about this using the standard. If you can find a way to do that, you can do that. I am currently on an AI fast, but I'm also realizing that I'm using that as a excuse not to learn more about AI. But use your own comfort level with regard to, I think that if it weren't for all the water that it's using, that creating a lesson plan in a format that someone's asking you to use that format is a perfectly acceptable way. It's also good for generating ideas, but you've got a brain. And so use your brain first. And then, if you need help, and if you're using AI, just, put that in your, if you're using, anytime you use anything that's not your own work, just put it in I don't know if you'd call it a works cited, not a bibliography, but just, hey, here's who helped me kind of thing. All right. I believe that that is it. I put my finger in the air to remind me of something, but I think it was the AI thing. Oh no, it wasn't. It was the unit plan thing. All right, so I asked for a unit plan in here. I think, let's see. Yeah, unit plan. The unit plan is not anything structured. A unit plan is a paragraph that describes the unit. I'm doing a unit with my eighth graders about Reconstruction, or about the build up to the Civil War. I think in here I use abolition, into the Civil War, into Reconstruction. That's a huge topic. But if you're doing a research, you're doing a research lesson with eighth graders and they can choose something specific from those and you want to give them some background information. So you're going to have a bigger picture for the unit plan and you're really just talking about what you're trying to teach and why you choose it with this grade level, how you're going to do it, and then the lesson plans are the specific structured one. Unit plan, literally a paragraph that you hand in before your lesson plans. All right, I've been reading the discussion, reading ahead to the module 7 because it is my favorite module. I think probably just brings up so many interesting topics. Module 6, everything looks great. I have been putting off on grading, and I could lie and say it's because I want to have a lot for your video feedback, but it's really just because video feedback takes a really long time. So please do be patient. I'm always so hungry for feedback, so I know that it can be frustrating, but you will get your feedback. I promise you. Maybe April vacation. No, you'll get it if anything's going wrong. And this one I do try to look at earlier because sometimes people do have to take their work back and do a little bit more. A lot of people forget the differentiation, the rubrics, and the student work, which is why I'm harping on them. Anyway, so I will be getting back to you a little while. I am very excited that in just a few weeks, I'd love to know who's going to the conference. So maybe if you, should I do another poll? If you're not going to the conference, I'd love it if you would email me here in Canvas and just let me know what you're thinking of for your independent work. I think that is module. Oh, it's not till module 12. We used to have it earlier, and so it would be between the professional development next module and the cataloging, but I've had to wedge it into the cataloging because it's so late this year. So don't worry about it. We'll talk about that next week. All right. I hope that you are enjoying your work or at least learning from your work. And if you have any questions, please do reach out to me. Canvas, I check pretty much daily. I take a look. My Salem State email every once in a while. And if it's an emergency, you have my contact information in the syllabus for phone or personal email, which obsessively check like we all do. All right. That's all I've got for you for today. Hope that you all have a great weekend, and I will see you on the discussion boards. Bye-bye.